Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the LA Poker Roundup, episode 7. It is October 17th, 2023, and I am your host, Ty Dobberton, along with my co host, Derek Kwan.
What's up, everyone?
Hey, and we've got a great show for you today. We are going to start out going over the results from the first week of the Big Poker October down at the bike.
And next, Ty has some strong opinions about when a guarantee is not a guarantee, and we're going to break down the 300K quantum.
Yeah, and don't get me started. I started looking at the next event. We are going to also break down the Combine Your Stacks mystery bounty happening at the bike this week also.
And we're going to start up a little strategy corner here on the show. You definitely let us know how you like it. And we're going to start our first segment with a segment that we call Be Like Bin. And it's a player named Bin Weng who's been absolutely crushing big field tournaments.
Yeah, if you haven't heard of Bin, then wow, you must have been living under a poker rock. But I can't wait for that. And then we're going to end the show, as usual, with our weekly roundup, see what's happening in LA this weekend. All right, but before I start, if you were down at the bike this weekend, you know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, pay attention, because there was a massive backup in the line department, and there was a huge amount of headaches for people going on down there. What I'm talking about is if you have this player card, the old red one, you're going to need to get a new player card when you come down for a tournament. So during that 150 on Saturday, the line to get a new player card, one of these guys, the new Park West player card, was very long, was very slow, and was very painful. So if you do not have one of these black player cards and you want to go play some tournaments at the bike, make sure you budget some extra time. Maybe go in during not the registration time or something like that. Make sure you get that new card, because it's going to be the lines are going to start building up there during these popular events. Hopefully, most people got that pain out of the way last weekend, but still definite risk that you could be stuck in that line. So just wanted to let
I definitely learned
know.
that the hard way, and it was really funny because the guy behind the desk was just like, "Oh, you don't have the black card," and I was like, "What black card?" Bike just does a kind of a bad job sometimes, just communicating things. They should just use their social media to be like, "Hey, you guys need a new card."
Yeah, and honestly, it was a little confusing. I did see like 2 days before on their Instagram, they had a story up, just a story saying that poker players for the tournament, make sure you get a Park West bicycle card or something like that, a player's card. That's all they said. They literally said, make sure you come and get a player's card.
Well, at least they tried. At least they tried to announce
But
it.
it
I
was
guess I must have missed that.
but it was still not
Ambiguous.
clear. Yeah, they didn't specifically say you need to replace your old bicycle classic whatever card with a new Park West bicycle card. It just said poker players get a tournament card, right? Get a player card before the tournament. Like, I literally texted them. I DM'd them on Instagram and said, hey, have you replaced all the old cards? Is this for everyone, or is this just a general reminder? And I got an automatic response with nothing, so yeah, I'm like, okay, thank you, automated machine.
We love you. We love you, the bike.
Yep. Yeah, some things, right? But what are you going to do? I tried to warn everybody. Once I saw that was the case, I put it out on the Twitter, put it on the social medias, tried to warn folks. But, right now our LA Poker Roundup account only has about, I think, 40 followers or so. So, those of you out there, if you haven't followed this show, please do hit follow so you don't miss anything. And follow us out there on Twitter or X as well. If we see anything that's helpful like that, we'll put the announcements out in real time. Hopefully you'll see them. Hopefully you can save them. I know one or two people came around and they did thank me and say, well, you tried at least. I didn't see it until I got here, but we do our best.
Yeah, it definitely helps us a lot if you follow us, subscribe to us. So yeah, definitely follow us on all the social medias.
Yep. And, on that note, before I forget, this weekend, a lot of people started, a lot to us, started coming up and actually letting us know that you're watching. So all of you out there, thank you so much for the feedback. Yeah. We really appreciate knowing that you're out there watching, that you do appreciate and like the content we're bringing you here. Special shout out to Nicole, and I believe my man Keith, I believe was his name, came up and made sure to talk to me, let us know how things are going and that they were enjoying things. So hope you're watching, and keep it up, please, and spread the word. All right, so let's jump right in to the first big event of Big Poker October, the 300K Quantum, and the winner of that event was Steven Spunt. So congratulations to Steven.
Congrats, Steven.
Yep, as it said here, there were final five agreed to a chop. Before we go down that list, let's just take a quick look at some of the final table here. So finishing, let's see here, how far can we go? So finishing in 7th was Beth Hall. the local favorite around here. Everyone seems to know Beth. She's actress known for being on the show Mom, and I believe she's in the new Adam Sandler movie on Netflix. Have you seen that, Derek?
I have not, but Beth, I think we talked about her last time. She is just, I don't know, she's a hero right now
Yeah,
in poker, man.
she's very dangerous.
Yeah,
Very dangerous
just,
at the tables. Yep. All right, so she got seventh place here, and then another absolute regular and fixture
tough
in the
player.
scene. Yep. He goes by Paul. It's Paul in the win. He got sixth place, and then right after that, these five guys decided to chop. Actually talked to Paul. He said he didn't even know they were willing to chop at that many people. He would have started negotiations at six. He doesn't mind. He does not mind. So Steven Spunt got first. He got 50,470. That's a great score there. Jared Einson got 40,085.
Jared's another really, really good player. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I played with him too much, but I think you played with the guys on this list a little more than I have. I can remember.
Yeah, Jared's a really good player.
Third place here, Tim Tang, 31,560.
Job, Tim.
And fourth place, Kirk Morrison, 29,215.
Yeah, Kirk Morrison. I think if people used to watch the old WSOP broadcast, he was on it a lot. Super fun player, very, very good read-based player. So it's kind of cool seeing him back, at the bike playing tournaments.
Nice. Yeah, those were the most fun players to watch, right? The ground use and the ones who get the good reads.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then in fifth place in this chop was Mark Florentino, 26,170.
Oh, yeah. I played with Mark a bunch of times too. Another really good, solid player.
Yes. So congratulations.
Good, solid final table. Yeah.
Congratulations. He's top five. And Steven Spunt, apparently 5 years ago, he won the $1,700 circuit main event here at the bike. And that was his high score, still is, 174,000. And taking a look at Steven's Hendon, it seems like he's maybe taken a little break from tournaments, but this year he appears to be coming back with a force here. So congrats to the year he's having. He got 81st in the main.
All those final tables, man. 8th, 3rd, 9th, 8th, 5th. Good job, buddy.
Yeah, at the Gardens, he got 8th place just recently here. Also at the 81st, amazing run in this year's main. He's had, look at he got second at Venetian back in January. So way to go. It's a great year already for Steven. So a couple more months to put a cap on that. All right. So there were several other tournaments this weekend at the Big Poker October. So let's go through some of the results from those. We had the 150K guarantee happening on Saturday, and this is where most of the pain from getting that new card came. And we'll see some more familiar names here at the top. Got Mr. our man, Paul Chowderson. So Paul got himself top chop here. It looks like there was an 8-way chop, and that tends to happen in these Saturday 150s because, man, the number of entries they tend to get it drags on forever. I don't know what time it was when this happened, but these things go deep into the night. So looks like it's finishing an 8-way chop. Paul in first place. A lot of other names. So second place was Leo Faison. Third, Matthew Turner. Damoon Nikui. So let's see. George Pineda. Yeah. Seventh place there. Let's
Prince
see here.
Albert.
Yeah, that's
so nice.
I feel like we should know someone with a name like that.
What is this? 9? Joshua, Andrew, Justin, Fraser, James. That's another cool name.
All right. Interesting. Interesting. Did you play this event, Derek? I actually did play it. I cashed in 35th down here. 980. Did those buy-ins back. I admit it. I tried really hard. And look, Jared Einson, fresh off. He literally came off of that final table. Basically max late regged and then cashed this guy.
Surprising. He's a grinder.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I fired as many bullets as you and didn't cash, so I got nothing back. But that's all right. I'm glad to have donated to a good cause.
So in this event,
couldn't be happier that Paul won because he's such a ray of sunshine in any tournament that he plays.
Oh yeah. Paul, he's got some habits that maybe aren't so great playing if you're playing with new people, but like everybody knows Paul and everybody playing, when you're playing with him, he's just goofing off the entire time. And usually the last time I played him was at the Survivor on Sunday, and I believe they just cracked open a bottle of wine when I left. So then this was the Sunday event, the Sunday $250 buy-in 40K event. That ended up in a 10-way chop. 10-way chop.
Wow.
And I can tell you, this wasn't that late. It was about 9:30 when these guys chopped.
Wow.
Now that being said, once again, congratulations, another familiar name. We just talked about him, Paul Wynn. He
Oh, he
got
finished first in this.
That's right. He
What a
got
week.
sixth. He got
What a
sixth in
weekend.
the
Yeah,
quantum, and he finished first in this guy. So way to
nice.
go. Way to go, Paul. Anonymous here in fourth. I see. Let's see. Any
Yeah,
other
so you see,
names?
that's what I'm saying. Like you could just report yourself as anonymous instead of having everybody not, report. So just report your results and hand them up.
I know, right?
You know.
Like it's not that tough.
Yeah.
Let's see. I see Larry, former Mega Millions. Oh,
Yeah,
Larry
Larry.
Kang down
Larry's
here
a
in
really good
15th.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And see some other names you recognize in here. I'm gonna get better with names, but I'm still working on it, right? So, all right, congratulations to Paul on that one.
Yep.
On Monday here, we had a Omaha 8 event. So Omaha 8 event looks like they had a three-way chop at the top. And, I see, I'm not as familiar with the guys who play the mixed events, but, we see here in
Oh
fourth,
my
Alan
gosh,
Meyerson.
second place. Amnui Chris 3 is actually my best friend's dad.
Really?
It's a funny story is that years ago when I go out to Vegas, he had a house out there, and I used to actually stay with his dad. And he's like this, old Thai guy, right? And he's just out there like grinding, tournaments until like 3 or 4 in the morning. It was like
Wow.
two roommates hanging out in Vegas.
That's
but
great.
awesome for him. And then Alan Meyerson took fourth, so
Yeah.
here's Alan again at another final table.
All right. Well, shout out. Derek knows all the mixed game players. You got to get in them streets, man. We
I
got to
actually
keep
don't know
practicing.
any of I only know
No?
these two.
Just those two?
I don't know.
Well, congrats to those guys. Congrats to Jorge Alba for winning that guy.
Yeah,
And then
nice job, Jorge.
there was also a Super Bounty event on Monday night, won by Dana Kellstrom. So congratulations. Let's see. This was a 7-way chop. Here are the final numbers for that guy. This is an actual
Good job,
Paul
Dana.
win. I'm not sure which.
I think I played with Dana a couple times before. He's a pretty solid player as well.
Oh yeah, I've definitely played with Dana a number of times.
Yeah.
Definitely a regular around here. Definitely a guy who loves to play. I'm trying to remember a specific time. It's just you play with so many folks.
Yeah, it's you really put in a lot of hands with a lot of
Yep.
people, so sometimes it's hard to remember.
Yeah, and I tried to. So moving on to some of the other casinos in the area, no one else is running a series right now. And I think I need to work on getting the results for the dailies because the only one I was able to find on social media was this one from Kevin. From their Saturday tournament this past weekend, they had 128 entries, and what happened here was the final 8 decided to chop.
Wow, it's like a chop fest this weekend. What's going
I
on?
know. So here's some
something in the air.
faces. I do recognize these faces. I do not know their names, but I recognize the guy in the LA hat on the end. I recognize the fella. Actually, I think I recognize about half the people in this picture, but I couldn't tell you their names. So.
Yeah, I do know the faces or some of the faces. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So congrats guys on the final table and the chop. But holy cow, what is going? Sometimes it's great to chop. Getting late in the night, you're getting a good deal. Is a short stack, is a big stack. But did you see this article over the weekend?
I did. This one
MGM
is
Grand Poker Room, their 80 grand invitational, 28 players chopping. Have you ever seen
29?
29
That's
players?
crazy.
Have you ever seen over 3 tables worth of people? I almost never see over 3 tables worth of people agree to pay the bubble, let alone chop.
Yeah. I mean, I actually tweeted a joke about this, but I would be laughing if they had suggested it because I thought they would be joking. But that's, good for them. I mean, I guess you ended your night early and got to go have an early dinner or something.
Yep. And look, we have Xander Stone, buddy of mine in the chat. So he was just talking about this story, actually. I mean, what the heck, man? Look, I love a good chop, a good beneficial chop. I'll do a chop late Sunday night when I got to get to work. I'll do you cut me a nice deal. I'll chop every now and then. Not usually. Typically, I'm just in it for the competition, right? I think you're the same way, Derek, right? You just want to play. But guys, 7-way chop, 8-way chop. The 29 player. Okay, this is a little not fair. This was a free roll. This was an invitational free roll.
Was that what it was? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So these guys were qualifying, doing other things all month. I mean, if you're in a free roll and you can chop for a profit, why not? That's totally cool. But wow, 10-way chop at 9:30. I don't know if I could do it. The only thing I can say is the structures for these 1 days at the bike, they really do kind of lend themselves to be kind of chop friendly, chop influential. The end of these days, people do tend to find themselves short stacked and the levels the bike is one of the places that reduces the length of the levels after registration closes, right?
Yeah, I would chop in situations where the stacks are really short, but I do remember there was like one final table I made where I think the effective stacks were like 15 bigs. Everyone wanted to chop except for me. They were just going all in if they played any hand. It was really stupid. I don't know why I didn't chop. Then I ended up obviously like busting, first out of the last five or whatever. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of my rule of thumb. Like if the average chip stack is decently under 20 bigs, like that seems like a time it might want to
yeah,
negotiate chopping, yeah. But if the average
yeah.
chip stack's up around 40 or something, I mean, and I'm
Yeah.
not tired, I want
I
to
would
play.
I would play it out, but you know what? If you guys are all down to chop, good for you. Glad you
Yeah.
guys had a good score.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, chopping is situational, and some people are definitely more chop happy than others. Like I
Yeah.
said, I'm for the most part I'm in things for the competition, so I want to play as long as we can still play. But it's all dependent.
Yep.
All right, so I want to talk about quantums a little bit, right? Now, I there are good things and bad things about quantums, right? I love that they can do the Mega Millions and that they can get such a huge prize pool here in LA, right? The last Mega Millions was 2.5 million prize pool, right? Really kind of 2.2 effective once we talk about what I'm about to go through here. But and that's awesome. I love that about it. But the quantum they ran to kick off this tournament, to kick off this series, the 300K. So to remind everyone, it was a 300K guarantee. The day two buy-in was $2,100, and there were only 3 days of starting flights. Right. I think this is being kind of a smaller quantum really highlights some of the, I don't know if I'd call them weaknesses or if I'd call them the warts of the quantum system. I just want to point out a few things, right? And especially in regards to day two players. So when you talk about a quantum, Derek, right? One of the good things is you can get those huge prize pools, right? So
Hmm.
their other good thing, in my opinion, that the people who benefit the most from a quantum, or the people who are like who really should play the quantums the most, are people who can play a lot of starting flights, right? Because
Yep.
that double bag bonus, it's honestly it's easier than a survivor once you've bagged once because everyone's not playing it the same way. They're not all playing it like a survivor, and that
Yep.
double bag bonus is significant, right? So you get to
Yeah.
suck a lot of extra money out like that, while occasionally maybe bagging higher.
Yeah. And
Um,
even if you don't double bag, you just get your money back, right? Just for making it through
yeah,
day one.
for the single bag, you get your money back, right?
Yep.
Um, then I think on the other end, when you have something like a Mega Millions where the prize pool is massive and you can buy straight into day two and just start playing, you get to start playing against what's essentially a huge field that's 50% or more of satellite winners, right? I think that's great for the people that can afford that. Um, I think who it's not really great for, and I'm not going to get into that today, is people who can really only play like one flight. Like if you're just going to take a one satellite shot and then try and play your day two and try and win a big prize, I don't think that's a great setup. And the reason why is because, and we'll talk about this in a different day. This isn't what I'm going to talk about today. But if you looked at the return sheets for these things, I think you'll find that typically only about a third of the players have over starting stack. So really, that means that most of the time you qualify on one bullet, you're going to be under starting stack, which is you should have just played a regular satellite, right? But what I want to talk about today is, with this being a 300K buy-in and with it being kind of a lightly attended quantum, right? Um, is that really a 300K guarantee isn't really a 300K guarantee, especially if you are a day two buy-in person, or if you only bagged once, really, like you're really not getting what was advertised, right? Because when you hear 300 guarantee, a 300K guarantee, what you think is, hey, I should be, the prize pool when we go to win all the money at the end should be $300,000, right? So the prize pool that we're playing for when it's all on the table is 300K, but that's not how it is, because a quantum is really more like a poker festival, right? It's like a week of a poker festival culminating into this other tournament, because money is getting paid out every day. Lots of money is getting paid out every day. So for this particular tournament, I took a look at the numbers. So there were 108 people that advanced from day one. Now, of those 108 people, there were 17 people, or there were 17 times it was a double or once a triple bag, which means that they paid out 88,000 on day one, right? So a lot of the times in the Mega Millions, this doesn't matter that much. The prize pool is 2 million. They paid out 600,000, or they paid out 300,000. 300,000 out of 2 million, no one really cares. 88,000 out of a 300K guarantee is pretty big. So what that actually means is that in day two, there were 64 direct entries. All right, 64 direct buys of that 2,100. So that meant that they pushed their total prize pool up to $375,365. That handily beats the 300K guarantee, right? Kind of. The actual prize pool on day two for those who were playing, and for those of us who bought directly into day two, which there were a lot because it was Friday. Friday was the day two. I can't play those day ones, right? You can't play those day ones. People with a job really can't play those day ones during the weekday. So if you wanted to play, you bought in directly to day two into this $300,000 guarantee. But the prize pool, even with 64 direct entries, only got up to 287,000 here. Really, if there had been an overlay, the day two prize pool would have only been like 212,000, right? So that's kind of misleading. It's not dishonest because the prize pool for this whole event, which is what a quantum is, it's like an event, was over 300K. But the day two prize pool, the prize pool that you're eligible for if all you do is buy into day two, less than 300K, 287.
Yeah, if you're gonna skip all the day ones and just go right into day two, I mean, you should kind of look at it as like almost playing a bounty tournament, not getting any bounties. It's like some prize pool, some part of the prize pool is not available to you. And while I think to Ty's original point, you don't get these huge prize pools down here in LA very often, and typically when you do, it's tied to a quantum because of like how much juice it makes people come out and then want to go play. So it's like really, so it's you take the good with the bad, but it is good to make sure that you have the visibility that the day two prize pools are going to be minus all those day one payouts.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I did go into it knowing all this, and there was nothing else going on Friday that was, big, right? So you kind of have to eat it, right? You're like being willing to pay that extra rake. But just in the for the sake of letting everyone know just how much quote unquote rake or, what you're giving up, to do a little bit more math, and we'll run through this really quick. If you're a day two buy-in player, the sheet advertises you're putting in 1870 into the prize pool and 230 in as kind of rake, right? But really, what I kind of took a look at was, let's take the entire day two prize pool, the prize pool you can actually win, right? That 287,365. Let's take that and let's divide it by the number of actual physical entries that were in day two, right? So with the 64 people plus the 101, which is what was left, I'm sorry, not the 101, the 91 that was left after taking away all the double baggers, that leaves 155 unique entries. So if you looked at day two as its own tournament, where it was just the day two entries and then the people who got in from one, and then you said, we're starting today, this is the tournament. That means there are 155 players for this prize pool. So if I divide that prize pool by these players, it should come out to this number, right? Because that's what I paid as a day two. That's what I contributed in the prize pool, but it doesn't. It comes out to this number. So what does that mean? Well, that means that on average, every player wasn't worth this much prize pool. So if you look at it kind of in the extreme, that means everyone who got in from day one, they really only contributed 1842 to the prize pool, whereas I contributed 1870, right? So it's kind of unfair right off the bat. It's not huge, right? But we're talking about kind of your edges and your rake. So just things to be aware of, right? As a day two player, it's if you think it's like this bad, it could actually be a little worse. And if the numbers would have been even smaller, it would have been even worse potentially, right? So
I think when Ty breaks out a lot of math, he's really upset about something. So you can tell that he's really upset about this.
Yeah, exactly. You have to know, if an engineer gets out their calculator, like, we're fired up. Like this is how it works,
I think, to be honest, I think most people, number one, this is good for as a PSA for you to understand what the impact of all those day one, payouts are. But again, I feel like, most people that buy in day two mostly know what they're getting into. They mostly know that they are playing for, it's still like going to be a bigger price than they typically get, which is why you have so many people directly buying in the day two. And even here with the math, like as you said, it's kind of like a nominal number. It's like whatever it is, like $30, right? Of a difference between the day, so it's not a big deal to most people. But it's in terms of if you're really calculating your ROI, really looking about your edges and trying to calculate how you buy into stuff, like it's definitely good information to know.
Right. I mean, you either and you're accepting it, or maybe you're rage rebuying. Anybody who might have done that, Derek?
I definitely rage rebought this one.
Oh, I'm sure. I hope it's going to come out with some good content of it, though. Were you recording that day?
I was not recording this one at all, which is unfortunate. You know what? There wasn't really that much content to put in there anyway. So
you didn't record. Man, I wanted to see the snap rage rebuy on
sometimes
film.
People do silly things and get you, but it is what it is.
Yeah,
It's poker.
that's absolutely it. Yeah, no, I did end up cashing. I think I finished in 35th place on this guy, so I didn't get the
Nice.
full buy-in back, which we'll talk about a little on this slide, the payout structure, but I was able to get into the money at least. So the payouts. One last thing I wanted to point out that I didn't even realize is that because of the way that money gets taken out on day one, when they calculate their payouts for day two, what ended up happening in this tournament was first prize was almost 26% of that day two prize pool, that 287,000, and that kind of blew my mind. That's way too big a number in my mind for what was effectively a 155 person tournament, or what they always advertise. They count all of their day one people in, so they'll call it like a 400 person tournament or something like that, right? So, I mean, it just seems crazy to me, and that really paying first place 25% of the effective prize pool, and then paying out 1/3 of the people because they paid out to 40 something, right? So, and that's how it always is in the quantum, right? We're used to the day two cash spot being somewhere around 1/3 and not being a full day two buy-in. We're used to that, but trying to make the tail go out that long when you're giving first place 26% just makes the payout structure so strange. It makes it so the pay jump so meaningless, and that makes it so small near the end. It's just, I don't know, that just seems like a bad payout structure to me.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that people realize that they're probably not going to be able to get big prize pools without something like the quantum down here. So I guess we have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah,
And
at
there
least
is,
until we can prove it, right?
but that there is still definitely things to be aware of in terms of the way all those payouts work. You are typically not, if you're not firing a lot of bullets, and if you're directly buying the day two only, some portion of that prize pool is not available to you. But I think most people are probably fine with it, that are aware of it, are aware of it.
Yeah, yep. So Xander is asking if we feel like that day two buy-in was worth it for the 300K guarantee. Xander, I didn't think it was, but like Derek said, I didn't think it was before I bought in. This wasn't a surprise to me. There just literally wasn't. I'm mostly going to play the biggest thing I can afford in town, and this just was it. But honestly, yep. I if someone was asking me if it was a good idea, I would have said no.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit high for a 300K guarantee. I would expect a 2100 to be a little bit higher of a guarantee than that. So, but again, just like Ty said, I feel like we got nothing else going on, right? And this is going to be the biggest prize pool that you're going to get a shot at. So we're just going to fire our bullets at it.
Yeah. And so what I was kind of pointing out there is that guarantee, some of that money goes away. It's kind of hidden away, and it's kind of a misleading guarantee. There's something else that was pointed out kind of in Twitter going on today, is David Lappin was kind of pointing out that for some of the events that are being held online day ones, or online qualifiers for the WSOP Bahamas, they're also pulling some of that prize pool out in kind of a read the fine print very carefully kind of way to reduce what I believe he wrote that in a different tweet, but what really looks like just ways of trying to make sure they can pad what that guarantee is in case they miss, right? So they don't have to pay as much. What's happening here is the main event, you can play your day one online, or you can play your day one in person. And if you play it online and you qualify and you get, you make it to day two, you get flown out. They pay for your hotel. They give you some food. Looks like they give you free lunch buffets. But what he found was that they're taking that off the top of the prize pool for the whole event. So
yeah, this is actually really egregious, in which they are basically taking travel expenses for players out of the prize pool. That's really egregious. I think what's happening with the Quantums is just a casino trying to get a lot of players and drive a lot of action, and just how they structured it is how they structured it. This is really egregious.
Yeah, this money should come out of marketing money 100%.
Right.
Absolutely. Right. Should not be coming off the top of the prize pool. That's just, especially in like this kind of like, it's not even on the sheets for the live players. They would have to be an online player and read the fine print. Like do not like.
Yep.
I'm going to the WPT main at the Win, so not a concern for me, but just another thing to be aware of if you were going to try and chase bracelets on the Bahamas.
Yeah.
Okay. So the bike mystery bounty did start today. I did want to talk about it, but I hadn't looked at this structure sheet until today. And when I started looking at it, I wanted to have a little follow-up to that last discussion there, because I don't think you realized this until we started looking at it today either, but there were two events on the Big Poker October that did not have a day two direct buy-in, and they were multi-day events. And we kind of figured that meant they're just normal events. They're nothing like a quantum, but these events do have a lot in common with quantum still. They have different price points for their buy-ins. They have two different flights. They have a 560 flight and a 300 flight for this mystery bounty, for instance, and they have bagging bonuses. So there's this mystery bounty kind of is different enough. I want to make sure we talk about it a little bit because there's some other things that I won't get to play it because once again, all the day ones are Monday through Thursday. So I'm not going to be able to get in there for a day one, but I don't think I would really want to play it anyways, to be honest. I mean, I think I've made it known that I'm not a big fan of bounties. I'm really not a big fan of mystery bounties, but yeah, I don't know. Let's get into it and let's talk about what's going on with this. So just the mechanics of this. There are two different kinds of flights: a 560 flight and a 300 flight. 12% get through from the 560 flights. 6% get through from the 300 flights. Also, on those 300 flights, just like the Mega Millions, you can cash without bagging. So there's that. With these, it's 50%. So we'll talk about this in a second, but what they advertise is 50% prize pool, 50% bounty money for the part that goes into the prize pool. And there's guaranteeing a $25,000 big bounty right here. Yep. And they guarantee $25,000. So that means that, say it's only the minimum 150K in the prize pool, they're guaranteeing that a third of the bounty pool will be in a single bounty. Here is the thing that is kind of confusing. So it is a combine your best two bags forwards. So players will carry their two highest bags forwards and combine them on day two. Okay, not too confusing. So additional bags beyond two receive 2K cash. All right, so they're already paying out 400, right? Bam.
Doing like day two payouts on a mystery bounty doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah, so there's a lot of things going on here, right? So the first thing is that means what I'm reading is if you qualify, you get 400. You have your bag, great. If you go for the second bag and you qualify, you do not get that double bag bonus that we're used to on the second bag, right? You only get 400 and then you combine your bag. That's the way I'm reading this. So something to be aware of if you're planning to try and double, triple bag. It looks like you have to triple bag to make the 2K.
Complicate this so much, but I guess what they're trying to do is get more people to go out and fire more flights, which makes sense for them, makes sense for the prize pool. So if you don't have people firing a lot of flights, you're not going to get these big prize pools. So you have to incentivize them by doing this, but then you have this crazy, combine your bag bonuses, but then they'll cap you at two bags. So instead they'll give you 2K in cash so that maybe people won't show up with like a gajillion chips, right? So I guess that's like one way to balance it, but then you have to give them something else. But then all this stuff obviously comes out of the prize pool, which is to Ty's point. So I'd be interested to see what the final numbers of this ends up being after it's all said and done.
Yeah, we will absolutely talk about the final numbers. The other thing that's strange is typically if you do double bag a bounty tournament, typically you get a free bounty pool. I don't see that written on here. So that's another thing. If you're going to try and play more flights, make sure you ask because we would have asked this earlier and talked about it today, but I hadn't looked at this sheet closely until today, so I apologize. But if you are planning to play multiple flights, make sure you talk to the flight floor and get clarification on this, on whether or not you're going to get if you bag 3 times, will you get a bounty pull? If you bag twice, do you get that 2K? Is it really 3 times? Was there something written there? But just taking these numbers at face value, I kind of want to talk about what could happen to this prize pool real quick. So just like what we saw with the 300K guarantee, if the numbers are low, and I kind of think the numbers for this are going to be low, we could have I think I lost your video, Derek. So we'll give him a second to try and come back. Derek, can you talk to make sure if I have audio on you? I do still have audio on you. I just missing videos. Yep, just missing your video. So we'll just hope the video comes back, and I'll call you again if something happens there. So with the 400 coming out for each person, you could end up, what you're really doing is that means that the real guarantee on day 2 is 135K. So that means it's really only 67.5K on each the bounty and the prize pool, right? So with that 25K guaranteed big bounty, I mean, that means you're taking more than a third of the bounty prize pool and pushing it into the one big bounty. And this is, so we're talking about the case where they're very close or down just right at the guarantee. They only need 38 players to advance about to hit that prize pool. So it could be a very small day two, which is, that's fine. But that's the number they're kind of going for. So they had their day ones today. Today they had 10 players advance. They had 34 players in the first 560 flight, 39 players in the second 560 flight, and then in the 300 flight, it had in the 300 flight, they had fewer than not enough people for two people to advance, so fewer than say 20. It looks like. So that's the situation from today. Since these are all weekday flights, I'm not sure if there's going to be much difference. So I guess one good thing is if these are the numbers going forwards, they may overlay because that would only get them to. I think that only gets them 3 starting days, right? So wait, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then. Oh no, there's going to be 4 starting days, right? Okay, so if these are the numbers, they'll exactly hit the guarantee. The one thing though is when people start triple bagging and taking that extra 2K out of the prize pool, does it just come out of the prize pool, the half of that half, or is it going to come off the top and then on day 2, will they split the prize pool evenly at that point? Because if they take it out of just the prize pool and there are a number of people who do that triple bagging, that could really shrink the actual prize pool side and make this day 2 into almost nothing but bounties, right? You could end up in a situation where instead of a 50-50 prize pool bounty split, you could end up with like a 2-to-1 ratio. That you could end up with like a 33-66 split of prize pool and bounty. So another thing to just kind of be aware of, to be careful of, if that's if you're playing in this thing, it's just I would definitely be aware that this is something that could happen, right? This is what's possible.
Yeah, definitely. Again, good information to be paying attention to when you're playing these. So obviously, don't let it discourage you. Go and have fun. Go play these tournaments, but definitely be aware of the impact of a lot of these weird structures.
Yeah, and if that is the case, knowing that's gonna help you know just how much to play for the bounties as opposed to playing for the places and playing for Survivor, right? That kind of thing. It's already typically a extreme and a mystery bounty, but these are things that are important strategically as well, right? So
Can you see me now?
I can. Yep, we're all good again.
That was weird. It was I couldn't see you either, so I don't know if it was my end or your end, but
it might
okay.
have been my end. Yeah. Okay, so let's move on and talk about speaking of mystery bounties, let's talk about the larger one that happened last week, which I believe was a 1 million guarantee up at the Win, right?
Yeah, Win was having a big series while all this is going on in our little enclave here in LA.
Mm-hmm. So we have a local player, Albin Bayo. He went up there and it looks like he drew one of the larger bounties, 25K and a 500. But congrats, man, going up there and ripping a 25K off.
Yeah, he's a local player, and him and his brother play a lot of tournaments around here. So good to see him running good with the bounties over there in Vegas.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so on that note, though, let's see. Oh, who won this thing? Who else? Bin Weng. So Bin Weng got first place in this thing. He got he got that many bounties, and he pulled in the top prize of about 160K. So, man, I want to be like Bin. I want to be like Bin. How do I do it? What do I got to do, Derek? Have you ever played with Bin? I've never played with this man.
I actually have played with Ben, and this is a good segue into the next segment about poker strategy. So Ben Weng has I'm not, maybe he's not as much of a household name as everyone else, but if you look him up, he has been absolutely crushing these big field events, and especially WPT events and the big ones, right, that have really tough fields. If you guys have ever played in like a 5K, 10K buy in the WPT fields, really pro heavy fields, and this guy is just crushing them all, final tabling. I played with him at the World Series before I knew who he was, and to be honest with you, I thought he was a bad player. I thought he was a spaz, and he was just playing all these like crazy hands and playing them in like super weird and aggressive and almost like spewy ways. But then when I found out who he was, it really made me think of another player, Steven Song. He was also a player who, the very first time I played him, I didn't know who he was, and I thought he was super spazzy, but he ends up being like an unbelievable tournament player, like one of the best in the world, right? And Ben, although he is probably only a couple of years into this poker journey, he's kind of similar in style. He's like maybe a little bit looser than Steven and plays a little bit more hands, in unpredictable ways. But you know what? It kind of almost makes me start thinking about, and I said this before in a previous episode, about playing more aggressively in tournaments to try to get those top podium finishes is how you make money. And then I think Ben Weng and Steven Song are going to be guys that don't have a really high cash rate, but they're going to have a really high final table rate and big money rate, right? And that's how you really be wanting to play tournaments. So it's really making me rethink my aggression, right? And it's so hard to get aggression correct in tournaments because you can just go too far and go super spazzy.
Like if Bin does not have a good cash rate, I am just I can't fathom how much he's playing this year because holy cow, he has so many cashes, let alone wins, right? Like I'm just looking just here in 2023, it just goes on for pages.
I think some players have also been kind of commenting on Twitter that he's running above expectation, and I did see him make some really really nutty plays and have it kind of work out in his favor. But you kind of need those to win tournaments, and I'm pretty sure there's many hands that he's taking the butt end of it that we're not seeing. But yeah, like he's just running really hot right now. Maybe he also has an insane cash rate this year, along with his big finishes.
Yeah. So what is it that we can do then? Like what can we do or what can we tweak? What kind of things are standing in our way to what's a smart player to do? What kind of adjustments can we make to be more like Bin, like specifically?
It's so hard because you just tweak that dial of aggression a little bit more than you typically do, and all of a sudden you're spewing and you're playing these huge pots that you shouldn't be in, and then you're getting yourself busted out of tournaments in ways that you shouldn't have been getting busted out of. So it's really, really hard to get this correctly, which is why I have a lot of respect for guys like Steven Song and Bin and even like the Foxens of the world, right? And the Michael Adamos, right? Those guys really, really play that aggression. And maybe that's where Bin learned it from because, I think you said that he's part of chip leader coaching, right?
Yep, he absolutely is. I don't know if it was after his first score, but I think he's been working with him for a while. He's sporting the merch. They've been talking in the tweets, so he
Yeah,
definitely works for Chance.
there's definitely a lot of world class players out there, but to have two of them, it's Chance Cornuth and Alex Foxen on
Yep.
the same site. That's just, I had been considering using them for quite some time, and I would love to see a little bit of their content. But it would make sense if Alex Foxen was kind of coaching this guy because Alex Foxen is crazy aggressive. He's a guy that will fire like 20 bullets at a super high roller, right, to try to get a big stack, and he'll play like crazy until he gets there. But then when you see him actually play it like on stream, like late, he is like almost like makes every decision perfectly, right? So, yeah, so it's tough, man. Like to even when I dial up the aggression just a little bit, like I will just get smashed in the face. I'm like, this is a bad idea, right? And I have to kind of go back and like kind of retool things. So it definitely takes a lot of tweaking to get right. You have to be a really good situation reader because sometimes when people play back at you, is it because they're getting frustrated or do they have a hand? So now you're always playing hands in like super high variance ways.
Right.
So all I'm saying is that it's hard. But I mean, what do you think? How is your play style, and how would you feel comfortable playing in a style like Ben?
Yeah, well, I haven't had the pleasure of playing with him, but I think what you said there really kind of highlights why it's so difficult to develop that style, right? You say you have a style and you're fairly aggressive, and whenever you turn it up just a little bit, it feels like you're getting smashed in the face, right? And I think for most players, if they have that experience, especially if they have it more than once, they just suddenly just come back into their shell, and it's just so easy for them to think like, that's wrong. I'm just never going to do that again, right?
Yeah.
So, and I personally kind of feel like I've seen that a lot with people coming in from kind of low stakes cash, moving into tournaments. Those tend to be the guys that are really good at min cashing, right? Those tend to be the people who kind of get it earlier, who are and can do fairly well in like the dailies and these kind of the lower stake tournaments in the early stages, where playing that really just tight kind of cash style where you don't want to play a lot of pots because there's so much rake you just can't win, right? Especially in those lower stake games, and you have to respect every 3-bet, you have to respect every big raise because people aren't bluffing much in those games, right?
Right.
So those are the kind of people that when they start to amp up the aggression and they get smashed in the face, it's just they just give up after one or two tries, right? So I think one of the things that has helped me, I feel like I'm a fairly aggressive player, and it's I think that I got there because I'm bored when I play the tight way, and that's very spewy, and I did that in cash games too, right? So learning how to not go broke playing that way in cash games, I think helps a lot.
Yeah.
So if you can play in a low stakes cash game and really just dial up your lagginess, that'll give you a lot of experience in uncomfortable spots. And then, for me, I definitely have a lot of trouble with what you were just talking about, where I'm playing every pot, I'm raising so much, and then when the guy raises back, is it because of me, or is it just
Right.
he's always doing what he does, right? And
It's a
that
science to get that right. Yeah.
yeah, that is something that a leg really has to struggle with, and by if you're in more pots, you are always thinking that kind of thing. Like, and people are saying it sometimes, but oftentimes what they play, the way they play, doesn't match what they're saying. They could be upset at you, they could
Yeah.
tell you they're going to get you, but they still aren't going to like play back at you. They're just going to have a hand, right?
Yeah.
But sometimes they don't, and it's like when
Right.
figuring that part out becomes the next game. Once you figure out how to be more comfortable betting a little more often, then the next game is that, right? And it's
Yeah.
these are hard problems.
When I see like the Bins and the Stevens and even how like the Foxens and the Domos play, um, it definitely makes me think that I need to be playing a little bit more aggressively, taking a hit on my cash rate because my cash rate is really high to get more high finishes. But I think as tips for everyone, if you were to try this and just know that if you do it, your bankroll is going to take a hit. You're introducing more variance. You can bust out of 100 tournaments in a row playing this way, even though you didn't do anything like crazily spewy, just because you're introducing so much more variance into your game. But the way that I would approach it is probably not like playing more hands in early position. Don't get yourself in trouble there. But in late position, you might want to just start three betting some of the hands that you call, right? Maybe play a couple of hands that you wouldn't typically call in position or play in position, right? That's really important. But then also post flop, in situations where you're thinking about just calling, maybe you should just put in a raise, right? It's like those type of things. And again, there's so much balance where you don't want to turn that dial like 20 or 30% more. Just try like 5 or 10% first, see how that goes. Because if you just sat there and you watch Ben, even though I'm talking about him like he's a maniac, if you were to watch him play, he's not really a maniac. It's just that all of a sudden he just shows up oddly in a hand where you're just like, ooh, I just was not expecting that, right?
Yeah.
So in any case, I think there is some validity to adding a little bit of spew to your game. I said that really early. Add a little bit of spew to your game because in tournaments, again, remember all the money is in the podium finishes, and that's what you're after, right? You're not after min cashes.
Yeah, absolutely. So Xander has an interesting question. He's asking, do we think that part of playing at your top tier is to play to your strengths and develop your own unique play style? So to that, it looks like we lost video
Yeah,
on. Okay, I can still
I
hear you
can.
though, so that's fine.
Okay. Yep.
Um, so yeah, I'll answer first. I think so. I think what might be even more important though is to playing to your strengths and knowing how your strengths play into your image, if that makes sense, right? Kind of an example is there's a couple guys who play in the local tournaments, right? And I'm thinking, right now I'm thinking of Jay Jagdish. Some of these older guys who play very aggressively, so much more aggressively than you would expect them to, based on like if you just looked at them like, oh, he must just be like a tight old guy. And if you think that, man, they're gonna take all your chips, they're gonna take your lunch money, they're gonna take you, but it's not like like Derek said, it's not just spewy, right? They're playing aggressively, which is that is their
There's a
style, and
there's a method to their madness.
I'm putting that extra layer on top that it also just happens to work for them. That they sometimes look like they wouldn't play that way, right? So I think those, if you can combine those two things, you've really got a really good base for a lot of spots.
The base is the important part. Like what is a good baseline to begin with? And this is where I'm not going to pitch you, GTO, but GTO is one of the ways in which you could learn what almost like the correct play is almost in any given situation, and that's your baseline. But then obviously when you're playing poker against real people, you're constantly deviating, you're constantly adapting to them, right? Because if you just play a straight GTO style, especially in lower mid stakes tournaments, you're just throwing money out the window, right? You should
Yeah.
be exploiting people left and right, but you don't know how to exploit them correctly unless you have the right baseline. So it's a little bit of both, Xander. I would say first, build that correct baseline, understand what the proper plays are, and then start adapting to your opponents. And your adaptation can be completely based on you, right? I think I have a very, very specific style of play that people have come in and like commented me before. So it's like I think you can build your own style, but first, get that generic baseline and then start to adapt, and that's how I think that you can build your own player profile, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. In these lower stakes tournaments or these lower to mid stakes one, I 100% agree that the biggest value of GTO is being able to identify where people are deviating more quickly, right?
Yep.
Being more sure that this was the right play and they're doing that. So I know that they went off this way, right? Right. I know that they're in this spot, they're too tight, or in this spot, they're too wide, blah, blah, right? So being
Exactly.
able to identify that quickly, the faster you can identify it, the faster you can try and take advantage of it, right? So that's
Yeah.
100% what I think is the value right now in these lower spots.
And thanks for hanging out with us, Aaron. This is cool getting to answer some questions live with people. So yeah, if you guys want to jump on while we're doing the live stream on Tuesday evenings, definitely come and we will answer your questions as they're coming in chat.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. If we get Derek, if you could get your thing to go from horizontal to from vertical to horizontal, that would be really beneficial to your face on the stream right now. Just so you know.
I don't think I could do anything about whatever's happening right now.
Okay. Yeah, it switched here for some reason. All right, that's all right. We'll keep going. We're gonna try that Mac update next, and we'll see if maybe we'll switch over to Discord. We'll see if we can get these things worked out.
You know what was interesting is when I tried to stream this weekend, it was having all these crazy problems with YouTube. So I think it might just be a computer problem on my side. So I probably just need to just do an update or something.
I got you, man.
Yeah.
If only you had just spiked a huge online tournament and could just get a new computer or something.
A new computer or something. All that money's already been invested in that.
I know. Yeah. All right. Do you have any closing thoughts or anything else you wanted to talk about on our Be Like Bin segment, or should we move on to the roundup?
No, I mean, I hope that you guys like the strategy. We'd love to talk a little bit more about, you don't want to have to go and do like hand histories or anything like that, but I think it's just good to talk about play styles and how you move up in stakes and what it's like playing players at higher stakes and how you should adapt to them. I think those are like good tips that people might like to hear. So yeah, definitely come up to me and Ty in tournaments and let us know stuff you want us to talk about, or just tweet us or just drop some stuff in YouTube. Yeah, we would love to continue these kind of chats because we think they're super interesting.
Yeah, for sure. If you have an idea, something you want us to talk about, let us know at the table. I was getting all sorts of good ideas thrown at me. I try and whip out the phone and take some notes down. And always, if you're on Twitter, follow us on LA Poker Roundup Twitter and shoot some tweets at us, and we'll definitely have those recorded. We'll put them on the list and we'll get to them for sure. All right. Well then, I guess that means it's time for the weekly roundup. So let's see what is going on in LA this weekend. So Big Poker October, obviously, still going on. Which means that's going to be the biggest thing happening this weekend. So for the rest of the week, the Mystery Bounty is happening all the way through Friday. On Friday itself, I believe that's Mystery Bounty Day 2. Saturday, they're going to be doing another 150K guarantee, that same tournament as last weekend. That should be definitely be fun, should be big. And then on Sunday at the bike, they'll be doing their same as this week, 40K guarantee, $250 buy-in tournament. So those should be another great set of tournaments. They hit their guarantees last week. I expect them to do the same this week. They don't have a mystery bounty to compete with up at the Wynn this time. I believe it's the main event, though, so I'm not sure if that will... I don't know how that is or isn't affecting things. I doubt it will affect the $400 buy-in down here much. But then starting next Monday is their next big multi-day event, 200K guarantee. And once again, this is slightly different than we would expect. We'd expect this to be a quantum, but actually it's a little bit more like a regular tournament. This tournament is a $1,100 buy-in, kind of like the SoCal special that they just ran down at the Gardens, there is no alternate amount that you can buy in for, so there's only one buy-in amount. It is multi-day. It will be going on from Monday through Friday. No, Monday through Thursday. Friday's day 2, I think, right? Yeah, I believe that's the case. Monday through Thursday, Friday's day 2. It is 13% advance. Now, when you get in the money, there is no payout this time. However, if you double bag, it's not a combine, it's a best stack forwards. So if you play again and you want to try for a bigger stack, if you double bag, you will get $4,000 in cash. So it's not quite the same numbers as a regular quantum, where when you double bag, it's essentially a satellite or a survivor. Now you make the amount of money that you would have more or less brought forwards in the prize pool, because 13% going forward should be somewhere around 7,000 something going into the prize pool, and you're only going to get 4,000 of that back. So it is a way to get some money back on that other bag. I wouldn't really recommend it unless you bagged a very small stack, because you're not getting the full amount. But it's still kind of a survivor. It's still $4,000, so that is a nice bonus. So this is interesting.
I think that, definitely changes the strategy up a little bit, because if you do bag with, let's just say, half of what the day 2 stack might be, you may not fire another bullet if you weren't going to get like a day 2 payout, right? Or double bag payout. But because a double bag payout is there, it does incentivize you to maybe take another shot, because again, you're after podium finishes, right? So this maybe gives you an opportunity to go for bigger and bigger stacks, but obviously don't go crazy because it's an $1,100 buy-in. If you were to fire 7 bullets at $1,100, I can tell you by personal experience that that's a really, really bad idea.
Especially in one day. I hope you've never done that in one day. Okay, so I had misspoke. The day ones are all the way through Friday. Day 2 is on Saturday.
Oh, good. So at least day 2 is on Saturday. Nice.
And on day 2, the levels will be 60 minutes. Will be 60 minutes long until you get to heads up. So it actually looks like
great.
Yeah, looks like this is gonna have really good play to it. A lot of good.
Great structure tournament. Excited for this one.
Yeah. So the day ones start at 2 p.m. and you can enter through the first 6 levels, which means that is, let's see, 1, 2. It's about 1 hour, 2 hours, not quite 3, 4. Okay, so what, like 4 or something hours? So you can register until almost 7. I think it's like 6:30 or so. You can register till. So if you can get there after work,
nice.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Maybe you get there, and if you do register, then you're going to start with 40 bigs, so could still be worth it. I work pretty far away. I don't think I'm going to make it, but I will get down there on Friday, ready to fire more than once if I have to get in. So here we go.
Yeah, this is nice for me because I could actually just go in like late reg and just be able to not have to take a day off.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, Xander, those 60-minute levels are day 2. So that's going to be the biggest tournament starting next Monday. So for this weekend, the other things going on, and we didn't mention this before, but for the last several weeks, Lucky Lady, Larry Flint, in addition to that schedule we've been putting up on the screen, their regular weekly schedule, this is not on added to that PDF yet, but they do a 20K guarantee Super Sunday tournament, and that starts at 1 p.m. You get 50K in chips. It's a $240 buy-in. So that's definitely a good one for Sunday to go along with. On Saturday, where I'd recommend going is the Gardens if you're down there for their 20K guarantee. And if you're looking for that lower price point, Lucky Lady has a 10K guarantee on Saturday. Remember, we're still building points for that WPT passport at the Gardens.
Yeah, a lot of good tournaments going on. So pretty spoiled down here having such great prize pools and great tournaments.
Yep. And I'm not sure why they announced this. This isn't until November, but it's until the last week in October. But for some reason, they Lucky Lady also is announcing that same 20K tournament, except it's a 250 buy-in on the last week. Like that, this is just another confusing thing to me. I don't understand. But in any event, yep. So check it out on Poker Atlas. Those are the tournaments I would recommend if you're not going to the bike. I would hit up the Gardens on Saturday or maybe Lucky Lady on Sunday. I think I might actually check that out on Sunday down there at Lucky Lady. 50K chips. I mean, that's only 5K less guaranteed than at the bike. So I might try it out just for something different.
Yeah, definitely. Always good to take a shot at some of these other ones, especially if they just can wrap up in one day with a good prize pool.
Yeah, and the room that they run it in, I've been to Lucky Lady just a couple times. I think 2 years ago they ran Quantums there. I kind of just stumbled on it, actually, and I did pretty well. I finished 10th. That was actually the first time I played any amount of time with Paul Chowderson, who we talked about earlier. So that was really funny. It was actually, he was really riling up all the other folks. He was it was an interesting character, and it was funny enough. We made final tables like the next 2 weeks together. So so I got to know Paul a little bit there. But the room that they hold the tournament in is actually pretty nice. It's very comfy. It's a really nice room. The main room at Lucky Lady, kind of shady. It's kind of it's not exactly elegance, But the back room where they're holding these tournaments, I believe, at least where they held those tournaments. Hopefully, it's this one as well. It's pretty nice and comfy back there, so not a bad place. It's here. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look on their if you look on the top of their Twitter, you can kind of see the electric lady I was telling you about with the moving leg when it lights up.
I think that's awesome. I think that's definitely a nice feature.
Yeah, and that, for those of you who don't know, that casino is just down the street from Hustler over there in I think it's basically in Inglewood also. So traffic's kind of rough to get there. It's right down the middle of town, but if you've never been there, it's fun to get around to all the local casinos. So all right, well, that is all we have for you this week. Appreciate the chatter there, Xander. Hopefully in the coming weeks we'll have some friends to talk back and forth with. Hopefully we get enough people that we need a moderator. But let's start small. Appreciate you joining us today. Hopefully I didn't bore you with all my numbers. And yeah, it looks like we got a lot of great events coming up in the next week. I'm excited for this 1K next week, but for this weekend, we got our regular 150K guarantee at the bike. That's going to be great. So yeah, looks like that will do it for this week. And until next time, and until next week, we will see you at the tables, guys.
Thank you, everyone. See you at the tables.